hearing his name being called, One No Ill, then remembered when he was a child. At that time, he was practicing alone at the academy. Suddenly, someone called him. He turned his head, and it was Li Guol, who was his older brother. Although, now it has been several decades, One No Ill will never forget the strong and loud voice of his older brother at that time. Back to the present, One No Ill immediately stood up and looked at Li Guol with astonished wonder. He wondered, why is this man calling his name casually? One No Ill tried not to get his hopes up. Because it's impossible for the young man in front of him to be his elder brother. But, still curious, One No Ill asks him, why is the man in front of him calling his name like that? Li Guol just looks down and doesn't answer. Li Guol looks around, he speaks in his mind, that Thousand Sword Academy is currently in big trouble. Not only are there demon slayers here, but attendees from various clans in Muum. Li Guol immediately gives off a terrifying aura. Xion, who saw that aura, realized that the man was strong, not just strong but expert. But according to him, his presence wouldn't change the situation. Because Xion and his friends have 50 demon slayers who even overwhelmed Clan Chief Morong. Then Xion turned to someone and asked why he wasn't moving. As it turned out, the muscular man carrying the big sword was the vice captain of the demon slayers, named Zhang Qiang. Vice Captain Zhang Qiang mentioned that it's still unclear whether the man is a blood demon clan follower or not, so his demon slayer troops won't act rashly. Xion was surprised to hear that. He now realizes that Zhang Qiang is really a man who is known as a person who is never wrong and hasty. Li Guol speaks up. He will firmly prove that Thousand Swords Academy is not part of the Blood Demon clan. Hearing that, everyone stares at him in astonishment. Vice Captain Zhang Qiang asks, how can the man prove it? Casually, Li Guol reveals that he is from the Thousand Swords Academy. Xion immediately shouts that his confession cannot prove anything. Knowing that Li Guol admitted himself to be part of Thousand Sword Academy, One No Ill kneels down as if in disbelief that in front of him is his elder brother. The other students are so surprised that it's Master Li Guol. His eyes are wide open, his body falls backwards. Even Shirha shed tears. He did not expect that the person he had met before was Master Li Guol. A gust of wind surrounded Li Guol, as if adding to the tense atmosphere. People did not expect that in front of him was Master Li Guol. Xion immediately shouted and told them all to calm down. Because the head of the academy has to report their source of funds and confirm the identity of the man claiming to be a member of the Thousand Sword Academy. If the Thousand Sword Academy is not proven guilty, then the Demon Slayer will let them go. As it turns out, behind this speech, Xion has a truly evil motive. He says in his mind, even if the Thousand Sword Academy can prove their innocence, Xion will not be in trouble. Because he can throw this problem to the Baya clan and tell them that this information came from the clan. Li Guol seems to realize Xion's evil intentions. He turns to him and mentions that Xion is still young, not just because he is supported by the Muran Union. It is not good to avoid problems and throw them to others. Those words immediately pierced his heart, and Xion was silent for a moment. Walun So Ryong immediately greeted Li Guol wisely. The woman immediately bowed and apologized. She did not know that at that time, Li Guol was the owner of the Muju tea shop. As a student of Da Sung, she realized that she was not polite. Everyone present was even more surprised, and already realized that Li Guol was not part of the Blood Demon clan. But Xion doesn't seem to be out of ideas. He shouts again that the man's identity has been confirmed by the future head of the Fair Mothers clan. But the head of the academy still has to explain how they got the funds. Li Guol immediately raises his hand, signaling to stop. Li Guol immediately bows and approaches One No Ill. Li Guol extends his hand and will help One No Ill. With great concern, Li Guol says that his elder brother will help One No Ill. One No Ill bursts into tears instantly. Li Guol stands up and faces the academy shrine. He then kowtows and reveals that he is the 19th grade master, Li Guol. Honoring the ancestors. The people who heard that had no idea that the 19th master had passed more than 50 years ago. Someone had even heard that there was a martial arts genius during the Thousand Sword Academy's heyday. Xion immediately spoke up and told them all to calm down. Since the Thousand Sword Academy could not prove the origin of their funds, Xion told them to lay down their weapons and surrender. Because of his bravery, the third-level academy in Shanxi opposed the Morong clan. Xion arbitrarily used his position as the successor of the Morong clan. He immediately took out the Morong clan emblem and ordered the demon slayers to arrest the people from the Thousand Sword Academy. Seeing that, Vice Captain Jang Kyung bowed and was ready to obey the orders of the Murin Union. The Demon Slayer Peng immediately brandished the sword, not only to the members of the Thousand Sword Academy but to the guests present. Visibly, Li Guol released a yellow aura and his eyes were shining. One Noel immediately took out his sword and invited the students to protect the tomb of the ancestors. Li Guol raises his head into the air, he inhales oxygen deeply. He just needs to accept all this gracefully, moreover, it's for the sake of his academy. In fact, moments like this are rare and will be very enjoyable. Li Guol raises his hand and pulls out one of the guest swords using his telekinesis power. Li Guol immediately releases his lightning power and tells the academy students to retreat. And tells the demon slayers to come forward. Because Li Guol is going to show them the true power of Thousand Sword Academy. The vice captain didn't expect it, even though Li Guol was surrounded by assassins, but he didn't flinch a bit. According to him, Li Guol is a person with power that he couldn't predict. The two of them are now facing each other. Li Guol praises him, that the sword that the vice captain has is a good sword. Different from his. But Li Guol emphasized not to see someone's strength from his appearance. Li Guol once again emphasized to tell them all to come forward and he will show the true power of Thousand Sword Academy. The vice captain immediately shouted for the assassins to spread out and make an assassin formation. Seen, the assassins were already moving and surrounding Li Guol very quickly. The movement of the assassins made the audience unable to see clearly due to the gust of wind given. But Li Guol just calmly observed their movements. The vice captain, whose eyes were reddened, immediately gave the order to attack him. The assassins began to attack simultaneously. One Noel who saw it shouted his brother's name. The assassin swords were already hitting Li Guol. But suddenly a light appeared in the middle of them, and suddenly, the light exploded and all of them were thrown away, including Vice Captain Jang Kyung. Seeing that, Xion and Huan Du couldn't believe it. Neither did Shurha, who didn't expect that the power used by Li Guol was the Thousand Sword Academy's first sword horse, one sword strike pierces heaven. Seen, as a result of that movement, a hole appeared at the tip of the sword. Now Shurha finally knew that the 18 holes on the Hollow Thunder sword were the result of the Shatter Mountain with one sword technique. Li Guol immediately swung his sword with the power of lightning wrapped around him. Li Guol announced that the technique he used was the original sword technique of the Thousand Sword Academy called One Sword Strike Pierces Heaven. The vice captain, who was knocked down by the attack, tried to keep from collapsing using his sword. He admits that Li Guol is strong, but even if the assassins disappear, the Murin Union will never lose. Because Li Guol has to kill everyone from the Murin Union affiliated clans after that. Then, Li Guol has to face 100,000 troops representing the martial arts experts factions. If it is proven that Li Guol and the Thousand Sword Academy are innocent, Li Guol immediately interrupts him. He already knows that if the Thousand Sword Academy and Li Guol are proven innocent, then the deaths of everyone here will be in vain. In his opinion, the Thousand Sword Academy also knows that. Moreover, the Thousand Sword Academy lost many followers and mentors in the Battle of Xion. Vice Captain Zhang understands that, but the Order of Unity Murim is absolute, even if it is not wise or noble. Li Guol smiles and realizes that they have their reasons. So was Xion. Xion was a bit surprised that he was carried away. He was still holding the Murin Unity medal, asserting that all of this was because Thousand Sword Academy refused to answer. Hearing that, Li Guol exhaled his breath and told him not to talk any further. Li Guol immediately brought back a frightening aura. He raised his sword in the air and emphasized that the Thousand Sword Academy will rise again today. Of course, One Noil and the other students were very surprised by the assertiveness of teacher Li Guol. Meanwhile, Vice Captain Zhang ordered the assassins to reform and replace the fallen front row. The assassins simultaneously returned to surround Li Guol. Before fighting, Li Guol realized that he had to reduce the audience first. Li Guol immediately issued the art of spreading tea, 5 elements. And suddenly, the ground around was cracked. Li Guol raised his hand, and suddenly there appeared a wall so high into the air, covering the view of the guests. The wall also surrounded like an arena for those who fought. The vice captain immediately jumped and attacked Li Guol, as well as the assassins. Li Guol swung his sword. Shurha, who saw that, did not expect that there is a sword attack that is able to move the surrounding space. He wondered, what kind of technique has this much power? Li Guol immediately issued the technique of Shatter Mountains with one sword, the second horse, one sword strike heavens. Meanwhile, Vice Captain Jang Kyung stated that during his life as an assassin is a pride for the Murim Union. The passionate feeling that existed when he first set foot in Murim has now begun to subside. He never thought there was an illusion that could move space with one attack. Moreover, he saw that none of the assassins were seriously injured by the attack. According to him, Li Guol is well aware of the presence and power of the 50 assassins here. This overwhelming power reminds him of when Vice Captain Jang met the chairman of the Murim Union for the first time, which made him tremble to the bone. However, this feeling is different. Vice Captain Jang was able to take the attack with a big heart. Therefore, it is highly unlikely that this man is from the Blood Demon clan. The Vice Captain thought that Li Guol is a great warrior and an honorable martial artist. Li Guol also brandished his sword and challenged the Vice Captain again. Vice Captain Jang immediately stood up and stretched his muscles casually. He revealed that he wanted to fight with Li Guol in an open place, not in a place like this. Then, the Vice Captain smiles and boasts to Li Guol and reveals that the assassins are returning to the base. Seeing that, Li Guol looks at them with a smile of joy on his face. Unlike One Noel and his students who are shocked. Sure enough, Vice Captain Jang and the assassins return to the base by jumping into the air. Li Guol immediately turns to his students and tells them to continue the academy opening ceremony. One Noel and the other students bow and obey the teacher's orders. Meanwhile, Cheon and Wando are seen unconscious under the rubble. Li Guol realizes that he cannot send them home under such circumstances. Li Guol asks One Noel that he will solve this problem and bring the two of them. One Noel seems to be a little troubled, because his older brother has helped the academy so much and he can't let his older brother go back to solve their problems again. But with a smile, Li Guol tells him not to worry and tells him to continue with the academy opening ceremony. Li Guol immediately raises his hand and releases his power. Suddenly a yellow light appears that coils into the air like a dragon. Instantly, the barrier disappeared and the place of the academy that had been destroyed returned to its original state. The guests were astonished. They wondered where the assassins and also the two people from the Murim Union had gone. They were curious what exactly had happened. One Noel immediately awakened them by coughing at them. He apologized for the disturbance that had occurred and announced to them that now the academy would continue the opening ceremony of the Thousand Sword Academy. Meanwhile, the spy disguised as a beggar, trying to catch up with Li Guol. He didn't expect that he could finally find General Li Guol. Because Li Guol was so fast, he didn't want his nickname as the fastest in the secret army to be destroyed. The more he chased, the farther the distance. But according to him, it was even more useful. This is also training his speed. He immediately increased his speed. In sight, Li Guol was carrying the two of them with his power. Unexpectedly, in no time, the spy was already behind Li Guol. He told him to stop. But Li Guol didn't listen. He then begged, would only say a word and call him general. Calmly, Li Guol mentioned that if they were destined to meet again, then they would. But for now, it was better that the spy left. The spy revealed that he could not return before completing his mission. Hearing that, Li Guol went down to the ground and threw the two men to the ground in pain. The spy immediately approached Li Guol and greeted and introduced himself, that he was named Dapwon. He served under the supervision of Major General Yeon Bumseok. Apparently, Li Guol had heard of him. Dapwon was the only soldier who managed to master the art of cloud steps. He asked, what was the business of looking for him? Dapwon immediately took out a document from his shirt pocket and gave it to Li Guol. Dapwon explained that the great General Yeon Bumseok ordered him to hand over the document to General Li Guol. It can be seen that at that time, the old General Yeon Bumseok, who was left with bones, told Dapwon to find General Li Guol because he wanted to meet him again. And Dapwon must find him even if he has to destroy this world. Hearing that, Li Guol immediately turned around and told him to tell the general that he will see him soon. After that, Li Guol left very quickly. Finally, Dapwon was relieved. He didn't expect that he would meet the legendary General Li Guol. Dapwon took off his beggar's clothes and underneath, he was wearing full imperial armor. He was very happy with his mission, especially disguised as a beggar for so many years. Soon, dusk came. Cheon woke up from her stupor. While Wando is still comfortable in dreamland. Cheon is surprised that he is already in a different place. Li Guol, it turns out, knows if Cheon is awake. Of course, this makes Cheon even more surprised. Li Guol turns to him, and he will ask him something and tell him to answer honestly, if not honestly. The video continues.